We often wonder, what's the real secret to great teaching, especially now in the digital age? It's not just about being a genius in your subject, and it's not even just about being great with technology. No, it's something more. It's like a special kind of alchemy, this perfect blend of skills that makes magic happen in the classroom.
So let's ask that question head on. What really makes a great teacher in the 21st century? Is it just one thing? Is it how much you know about your topic? Or maybe it's about being a master of running a classroom. Or is it about being a wizard with all the latest apps and gadgets?
Well, we usually think about these things separately, right? You've got the subject expert, they know the what. Then there's the teaching pro, they have mastered the how. And of course, the tech whiz who knows all the tools. And look, each one is valuable, for sure. But true greatness? That's found somewhere else, right where all three of those connect.
And that's exactly where this really powerful idea comes into play. It's called the TPACK framework. Think of it as the key that unlocks the secret, showing us how these separate skills can combine to create teaching that's not just good, but truly effective for today.
So, TPACK. It's a bit of a mouthful, right? It stands for Technological, Pedagogical, and Content Knowledge. It's a framework that was developed back in 2006 by two researchers, Mishra and Kohler. And it's built on this really simple but, incredibly powerful idea. To teach really well with technology, you can't just know about technology. You have to master three different but connected areas of knowledge.
So it all boils down to these three things. Think of it like a three-legged stool. First, you've got content knowledge, or CK. That's what you teach. Then there's pedagogical knowledge, PK. That's how you teach it. And finally, you have technological knowledge, TK, the tools you use to teach. Now, if any one of those legs is wobbly, the whole stool becomes pretty unstable.
But here's the real secret sauce. It's not just about having these three separate types of knowledge. The real magic, the entire goal of this TPACK framework, is to find that sweet spot right in the middle, that overlap, where the what, the how, and the tools all come together seamlessly.
Okay, so this framework sounds great in theory, but you gotta ask, does it actually hold up in the real world? Well, to figure that out, we're gonna dive into this fascinating study that actually put TPACK to the test with real teachers in their own classrooms.
So, check this out. Researchers over at the Universitas Muhammadiyah Parepare in Indonesia decided they wanted to find out. They basically gave a group of their university English lecturers what you could call a TPACK checkup, just to see where their skills were at across all these different areas. Now, this study was really focused. They worked with just 14 experienced lecturers from the English Education Department. It's a small group, yeah, but that focus gives us a really sharp, clear picture of how this stuff actually works on the ground. Okay, so here's the big question. How did they do? Were these experienced pros already TPACK masters? Just effortlessly blending tech, teaching methods, and their subject matter? Well, let's just say the results were a little surprising. Yeah, the findings were genuinely fascinating. It wasn't some simple pass or fail. Instead, the data tells this story. A tale of three distinct strengths, but it also shines a big bright light on a really significant gap. All right, so finding number one. The research showed that these lecturers were very comfortable with technology. They felt pretty confident that they could use new tech and learn it quickly.
I mean, look at the numbers. When they were asked if they keep up with new technologies, the response was just overwhelming. 93% said yes. And maybe even more telling, nobody disagreed. So their confidence with the tools, their technological knowledge, was through the roof.
So what about their actual teaching skills, their pedagogical knowledge? Well, it was pretty much the same story. A ton of strength and confidence.
And here we go again. When asked about their ability to use a wide range of teaching approaches, boom, it's a nearly identical result. 93% agreed. So their pedagogical knowledge, their PK, was every bit as strong as their tech skills. Okay, so that's two strong legs on our stool. What about the third leg? The content knowledge. Were they confident in their expertise in the English language? For the most part, yeah.
So here's where things get a little more nuanced. A solid majority, 65%, felt really confident in their subject knowledge. But look at that. More than a third were neutral, and that's a pretty significant number.
So confidence here was good, but it wasn't quite the rock-solid slam dunk we saw with their tech and teaching skills.
So let's recap. They're tech-savvy, they're skilled teachers, and they know their subject matter. It sounds like they have all the pieces of the puzzle, right? But here's the twist in the story. The real challenge showed up when they were asked about combining those skills.
Okay, now check out what happens when they're asked about bringing it all together, about actually selecting technology that makes both their teaching and the lesson content better. See that? The confidence drops to 72%. And for the very first time, we actually see people actively disagreeing. This right here, this is the TPAC gap in action.
So what does all this mean? It means that just having those individual skills, well, that isn't enough. The real journey for modern educators is moving from simply knowing all the parts to skillfully weaving them together.
You know, the researchers who did the study, they summed it up perfectly. They wrote that the lecturers can use the three core knowledge areas, but the way they use does not link each other. In other words, all the ingredients were there, but they weren't being connected. They weren't being mixed together in the bowl.
And this gets to the real heart of the challenge for teaching in the 21st century. It isn't a lack of skill in any one area. It's about developing the wisdom to integrate them all, to choose the right tool for the right lesson to get the right outcome.
Now here's the good news. This integration gap is totally fixable. The researchers recommended a really hands-on collaborative approach. Not just theory, but practical workshops and group discussions where teachers can actually work together on how to best weave technology into their own lessons. It's about building a community of practice.
So this whole thing leaves us with one final and I think really important question. Knowing that true teaching mastery is in that integration, how can all of us, whether we're students or parents or colleagues, better support our teachers on this journey? How do we help them move from simply being experts in separate fields to becoming true masters of that teaching alchemy? It's something to think about.